All right, guys, so in here what we want to look at is one of these. I think let's go for liking a comment without refreshing. Okay, so great. So far, if I have a post like this one right here and then I click like, you notice that the page refreshes, and some of you expressed your displeasure at this kind of behavior where the page refreshes. So now the thing is, you have to understand that the reason I did it this way is because it's important for you to understand how it works without using JavaScript. Because if I were to add the feature where I just click and without the page refreshing, the like would display here, it means I'm using JavaScript. Now, JavaScript has some problems sometimes, because if somebody is using a small, a little phone, or a phone that's a little bit outdated, then you find that they won't be able to use your website because either JavaScript is not running on their system or they disable JavaScript somehow, which will break your website. So for example, websites like Facebook have they essentially have two websites. So if the browser notices that you are using a small phone, or if the Facebook server notices that you're using a small phone, it will redirect you to the version that doesn't use JavaScript of Facebook. That's why you see in the URL it's going to be m.facebook.com and it won't be www.facebook.com. So that version is for the JavaScript. So they put those two just in case. So just keep in mind that the more JavaScript you add to your website, the more you are reducing the number of users that will be able to comfortably use your system. But if you're not concerned about that, we can go ahead and try to do it that way. Now the thing is, we will create it in such a way that we do not break what's already going on, so that in case your user disables JavaScript, it will still work as it works right now. So if I click, it will go and like, and then I click, it will still just refresh the page. So to do that is it's relatively easy. So let's see how we can do it. So this, if you remember very well, this is a single file that is looped. So if I go back to my index.php, in fact, what I would do here is just load my entire folder in here because it makes it easier to navigate. So just drag and drop your folder in Sublime Text and it will open the files like this. So this way, at least I can just click the file that I want. So in this case, I'm looking for my index.php page. And as you can see at the very bottom here where the posts are showing, it's post.php that's being included. So post.php is what we are looking for because that's the one that contains the like and comment buttons and so on. So let's go to post.php. There we go. Okay, so this is the culprit right here. So if I scroll down to this is the link that I need right there. So href, what's this? A is equal to href. Okay, so this is the link, like.php. This is where it goes when we click this like button. So what we can do instead is let's go down to the very bottom and let's create a function here. Actually, let's put some script tags here just to make sure that we can put some JavaScript. So I'm going to make a function here. I'm going to call this function like_post. Or instead of putting it this way, because sometimes you may have a very busy website. Let's say, for example, you have a like button, you have all these things. Let's say right here where you say like, and then it will say someone has liked your comment, and then you want, when you click there, it simply opens a div here where it shows who actually liked your post instead of going to another page. So you can have thousands of functions here that are using JavaScript. So that's why it's very important to keep your work organized from the start, because it's going to make it easier for you to upgrade, to add extra functions. So better you do a lot more work at the beginning, and then as you develop the website, you just slowly add things there, which will be much easier. Because if you're not organized from the beginning, it's going to be very difficult to upgrade your system. It's going to be a pain in the butt. So to avoid that, let's do this here. So we're going to say function. Now, instead of saying like post, right, what we're going to simply say is maybe send data. We can call it send data or get data, something like this. Ooh, data, like so. Or let's be more specific. Let's just say Ajax, something like that. Maybe Ajax data, or maybe send Ajax data, or whatever it is. So you can decide what you want to call it. So what we would do, the reason we are doing this is because we can use the very same function to do many things on this very same post. Now, if you're wondering, because I've put this function in a looping file, this post.php will be looped multiple times, which means if you go into the page source, you're going to see that here there will be a function, here there will be a function, the same exact function on multiple posts. Now, that's not a problem, because the way JavaScript works is that even if you have 10 functions that are exactly the same, it's just going to use the very last one. So these functions the others will be disabled except for the last one. So we can still put these functions in a loopable file. That's okay. It's very different from things like PHP. If you declare two similar functions, you're going to get an error. Okay, so here we want to send some data. Now, the way to send data is very simple. Let's create a variable we're going to call Ajax. You can call it Ajax. Sometimes I call it XML, but let's just call it Ajax. Now this will be equal to new XML. This is an XML HTTP request, like so. So it's called XML because they used to, sometimes it uses XML. The creators were using XML instead of Ajax, or instead of JSON, sorry. So make sure you take note of the capitalization here. Everything here is capitalized up to H, and then small letter, and then R is capitalized like that. Okay, so once we open this object, this is what will communicate with our server. So we're going to open it. So I'm going to say ajax.open, and then we're going to tell it that we are sending a post. We're using post to send, and then where are we sending? We're going to create a file called ajax.php on the server side. That's the file that will be read, and then we're going to put true. Now true here is important because it means you want to send this data asynchronously, meaning that you don't want the reading of this data to freeze your user interface. So put it there, and then finally we're going to say Ajax send. So you can send even an empty package like that, that's fine, but in our case we need to send some data. And then on top of that, I want to listen up for a response. So to listen for a response, I'm just going to say ajax.add event listener, like so. Add event listener. So we're adding an event listener here to listen for a specific a thing called the ready state change, like so. Ready state change, like that. So that's what we're listening for. And then now the reason I know it's like this is because there's documents, there's the online docs that mention this is the trigger. Now here we're going to put a function, of course. I want us to, this is the function that will run whenever this ready state changes. So just like this, and then at the end here we will put our semicolon, because this is how it is. Now since this is a function, we can click here in the brackets and move it down like so that we can add more than just one line here. Now the important thing is this: the ready state change has 4 states, right? The first time is when this is opened. So when you say open, the state will change from 0 to 1, and then when you send, it will change from 1 to, I think it's 2 or something, and then when you receive, it's another state. But the state that we are looking for in particular is number 4, because number 4 means everything is complete and a response has been received. So that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to say if question mark there, if ajax dot ready state, so that's the state we were looking for. Now here you have to be careful, it's ready state with capital like that, because this is part of JavaScript, so JavaScript and camel case, but this is just an event, that's why there's no camel case there. So if the ready state is equal to 4, that's what we are looking for, and we want the status of the HTTP status to be equal to 200. So you might be asking, what is this 200 here? 200 means okay. So if you're going to send, like for example, sometimes when you are browsing and then you click on a page that doesn't exist, it's going to tell you error 404. I think it might actually do that if I do this. Yes. So you see here it says error 404, which means object not found. So this is how the HTTP system is set up. When you send a request, it will send a response back. Now 404 means the server didn't find the file you are looking for. However, if you get a 200, it means everything went well. There's error 500, which means server error, and so on and so forth. So in our case, we are looking for 200, which means everything went well. So I'm going to do that. So the reason we are doing this is because we don't want to start acting the moment the Ajax is open, because the ready state will change, but it won't be 4. It's going to be 1 or 2 and so on. So we only want to respond when it's equal to 4, which means there was a response. And then we want to make sure that the status is 200, meaning we did actually get a valid response. If there was an error, we would just ignore. So if, for example, you were looking for a specific error, like for example, error 404, you are going to put another if statement here and just say when ready state is 4 and Ajax is equal to 404, it means the page was not found. So if you want to add error handling for that, you can do that. But in our case, it's not necessary. So at this point, this is our response. So we're going to create a function. Oh, sorry there. Response, like so. And so this is a function we'll create here that will handle the response. So we're just going to call it response. And in here, I'm going to say Ajax dot response text. I almost forgot that one. Capital text, like so. So the response text is what we receive from the Ajax, and so we're going to send it to this function right here. So let's create this function right here. So I'm going to say function, oh my god, response. There we go. So we supplied some text in there, so I'm just going to call it result. Ooh, see, I'm used to PHP now. Let me remove that. There we go. So all I want to do is alert and alert us to the result, just like that, so that we know that things actually went well. Okay, so this is simple enough. We call this function, open up the Ajax thing, then we start listening for a response, and then we open up the gate with a post request, and then we send. So we are sending to the ajax.php file. So if the file is not found, if we try this right now, it will return a 404 error. So we can test that without a problem. So let me copy this Ajax data with an E at the very end. So let me copy that. And then I'll go to where the user is supposed to click on the like button. So which is this one? This is the link right here. So I'm just going to put an on click listener here. On click, like so. And then on click, I'm going to call that, but don't put E there, put event, because we want it to supply the event that was that happened here. So there we go. So on click Ajax data event, and that's it. So let me refresh here, and it seems I have broken something, because now I'm seeing what I do not need to see, and that's because there is this part here. Careful with those, it closed the tag. Okay, there we go. So I want to go to the very first one here, and I want to click. Now the important thing is that before I click there, it's going to refresh the page. So I want it to avoid refreshing the page. So to do that is simple. We're going to disable the default action. So we're going to say e.prevent capital D default, like so. Okay, so E represents that event that we sent in there. So we're going to say event.prevent the default action, which is great. So in our case, the default action for the link is to take us to another page. So we want to avoid that. So there we go. So let me try this, refresh the page and hit like. So you see nothing happens, then you know everything is working. But if I go to inspect the element and console, let me click here. So there we get what I was looking for, post HTTP, and then what's happening here? It's saying 404 not found. Okay, which is great. Is it? Okay. Yeah, 404 not found. So it means the page that we are trying to read from, this one, was not found. So which is great. So let's try and add that file there, ajax.php. So let me go to right in this folder, my book, right click and create a new file. If you don't have this, you can just go and paste a file there. I'm just going to say this is the server file. Notice there are no PHP tags. This is just a text document. So let me save that, and I'm going to say ajax.php. That's what I'll save it as. Save. Okay, so let's do that again. Let's try one more time. Okay, so it's saying undefined again. So why is it saying undefined? Let me come back here. Let's see. Status 404. So this is the link it's looking for, undefined at the very end, which is not good here. Okay, so this is undefined because instead of making it a string, we just made it a variable. So instead, I'm just going to put inverted commas around it, like so, because this is a file name. It's supposed to be a string. All right, so let's refresh one more time. This time things should go as planned. So I click there, and you see this message here. This is the server. This is the server file. You're seeing that message here. So which means we're actually reading from ajax.php because this is the content that is in there. Okay, very, very good. Now, the next thing we have to do is learn how to send some data here. So instead of reading what's here, because we've seen that here we can read what's here. So also, if I had put PHP tags like this and then I echo, so if I want to return something, I just need to echo it. I'll just say this is an echo, like so, and we will get similar results. This is an echo. Very good. Now what I want to do is to echo the data that I sent from here. So let's try and send some data. Now what we will send, like the data of interest in here, is the link itself. For example, we have href here and there's a link there. So we are interested in this link right here because it contains the information required in order to like our page. So let's get the href. This is the href property here. So that's what I will do. So I'll go down here and say, let's create a variable called link is equal to e.target. Now e.target is the thing that you clicked. So in my case, the thing I clicked is the link itself. So I'm just going to say e.target.href, like so. So then I'll get the link. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, there we go. So link right there. So how can we send this link? Easy peasy. What we will need to do is just put that data in here. But instead of just putting this link over there, we can do just that. We want to send JSON data instead. So like here, let me copy this. If you don't, if you just have one thing to send, for example, let me put this right there. Link. There we go. So on the Ajax side here, for me to collect that data, I'm going to create a variable here and say file get contents. I'll use file get contents. And inside there, I'm going to say PHP